37 days before the passing of Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu begins to write the final book of the Torah, the book of Deuteronomy, where he reviews the history of the Jewish people from the time he took them out of Egypt over the last 40 years until his final day. In this week's Torah portion, in the portion of Eikev, he talks about the luchos, the tablets, the 10 commandments that God gave the Jewish people, and the sin of the golden calf that followed, which brought about the ultimate second set of tablets, the second luchos, which Moshe Rabbeinu also gave to the Jewish people. In verse number 9, in verse number 17 rather, chapter number 9, verse number 17. Just to make an introduction, the number 9, which is the letter tes, means toiv, good. And 17 in Hebrew is also the word toiv, good. Because the word toiv, tes, vav, vez, equals 17. So good and good is very good. So this is a very good pasuk. Yet, if you read the pasuk, it sounds like it's not so good. Because it says the following. In verse number 17, Moshe Rabbeinu says like this: after I saw the golden calf, that the Jewish people went astray from God, says the Torah, Ve'espois b'shnei haluchos v'ashlichem me'al shtei yodoi v'ashabreim leinechem, which means the following: I grasped, I held on, I grabbed the 2 tablets and threw them down from my 2 hands, and I smashed them before your very eyes. This is the verse that we are going to discuss today. Why does the Torah tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu says, I grabbed the tablets? When you have something on the table and you want it, you need to grab it or take it. But if it's already in your hands, you're not grabbing it. It's already in your possession. Yet the Torah says that even though he already had the tablets, says the Torah in verse number 17, in the verse that is good, Ve'espois, and I grabbed the tablets. What was the purpose of Moshe Rabbeinu now grabbing these tablets? And to explore various reasons and interpretations on this verse and how it applies to us today. First and foremost, in the Medrash, it says like this: there was a power struggle between God and Moses. God was holding on to the top part of the tablets. Moses was holding on to the bottom part of the tablets. It was going back and forth, and Moses ultimately won. That's one interpretation. So he had to grab it out of the hands of God. Now what does that mean? On a metaphorical level, what does it mean? It means that there's a question pertaining to the laws of Torah. Do we follow the laws the way the heavenly court studies the Torah? Or do we follow the Torah according to the court down here in this world? And the Talmud tells us, Torah loy b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven. The Torah is down here in this world. In other words, we down here in this world have the right to bring the verdict in the Torah, the halacha of the Torah. And in heaven, they acquiesce and they follow the verdict of the Beth Din of the rabbis down here in this world. That is the concept of Moses grabbing the Torah. There's another interpretation that Moses was pulling on one side, the sages were pulling on the other side. Ultimately, Moses grabbed it, and then he shattered the tablets. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu shatter the tablets? Because he saw the golden calf. He was upset at the Jewish people. God just took them out of Egypt. God just gave the Jewish people the Torah, the Ten Commandments. And now you defy everything that God stands for. In the first of the Ten Commandments, it says, Anochi Hashem Lekecha, I am God your Lord, that took you out of the land of Egypt. Second commandment, you shall not have any other gods before you. And now you build a golden calf. So Moses is upset. However, why must he break the tablets? He could take the tablets and say, look, you guys don't deserve this. You misbehaved. I'm putting the tablets away. When you behave, I will give it back to you. Why must he break it? And the Gemara says, when Moses broke the tablets, God tells Moshe, Yasha Koyach. You ever heard the term? Yasha Koyach, thank you very much. Yasha Koyachacha, Asher Shibarta, thank you for breaking the tablets. Why would God thank him? God just gave Moses the most priceless gift in the world, the Picasso of all Picassos, and now Moses breaks the tablets. And the answer is, the Jewish people at Sinai became wed to Almighty God. When you are wed to a husband, the husband and wife are now in a state of holy matrimony. It's called Kiddushin. And therefore, the wife is not allowed to cheat on the husband. Spiritually, if the Jewish people are now married to God, means they are now dedicated to God and the ways of Torah and mitzvahs. If the Jewish people now serve an idol, they bow down to an idol, they are committing spiritual adultery. So therefore, what does Moses do? Moses now spares the Jewish people. Because a moment ago, God said, I want to wipe them all out. Because they deserve to be wiped out. They committed adultery. It's punishable by death. What does Moses do? Moses, who's the lover of the Jewish people, he is the Roya Mehemna. He is the faithful shepherd, or the Raya Mehemna. What does he do? He says, God, hold on. You said you're married to these people? Prove it. Prove it. You're not married to these people. You see these tablets? This was the ketubah. This was the marriage contract. Boom. It's no more. No proof. You were never married to the Jewish people. They never sinned against you. That is the reason why Moses breaks the tablets, not only removes the tablets, but actually breaks the tablets. There's another interpretation. In Avos de Rab Nosson. In Avos de Rab Nosson, he says, when Moses is coming down from the mountain, and he sees the golden calf in front of him, all of a sudden, the luchos begin to get very heavy. Now, the luchos were very big. They were large. And they were sapphire stone. It was humanly impossible for the average person to hold it. But what happened was, all of a sudden, it begins to get heavy. What's happening? He sees the letters of the tablets flying out of the stone. All of a sudden now that the letters were flying out of the stone begins to become heavy. Because till now, the letters were holding up the stone. Moses only had to stick his hands out, as the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, and the luchos are floating on his hands. Now all of a sudden it's getting very, very heavy because the letters are flying out. And now, once again, the stone assumes its real weight. And he says to himself, can I bring the Jewish people a blank document? I can't give them a blank document. So I'll throw it down, I'll destroy it. There's no document. If not, it's going to be an embarrassment. I went up to get them a document, and now there's nothing on it. I'm going to destroy the luchos. So these are various interpretations of what happened that day, which was the 17th day of Tammuz, the same day, years later, that the enemies of the Jewish people breached the walls of Jerusalem, which ultimately led to the destruction of the Holy Temple. Now, let's look at this from a halachic level. And that is, how did Moshe Rabbeinu, who was a rabbi, who knew the Torah, he was just there 40 days and 40 nights in heaven, studying the entire Torah. How was he able to break the luchos? Why? Because in the Torah, there's a law of damages. You have no right to destroy property that doesn't belong to you. So how can Moshe Rabbeinu now take this property, which was the luchos that God gave to the Jewish people, and destroy it? He didn't ask anybody. No one gave him permission. On his own free will, on his own volition, he takes it and he breaks it. Who gave him the right to break it? Now we know that the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert, and later again the Holy Temple, the Beis HaMikdash, was built by the Jewish people. Every Jewish person participated. They gave $50 to build the temple. And those that were wealthier gave additional money. And the women were the first, by the way, to donate to the temple. So the temple was a piece of every person. Every person participated. It became a communal building. It was a congregation. It belonged to everybody. How does Moshe Rabbeinu now have a right to take the luchos that were put into the ark, that was placed into the temple, and now break those tablets? So there is a law. And that is, if you are doing this action for the benefit of the recipient, then it is permissible. For example, we live now in America. If, God forbid, there's a fire in the house, and there's a person in a room sleeping at night, the fire department and firemen and women have a right to come and smash down the door, to break the wall, to put out the fire, to save your life. Now, can you go and sue the firemen for breaking my door? Hey, who asked you to come here? Who asked you to break my door? It's illogical. You saved my life, thank you. Who cares about material wealth? But this is a halacha in Torah. If you cause damages to save the person, it's 100% permissible. And similarly, this law carries over to the concept of kriya, which we find, God forbid, if a person dies, a father, a mother, God forbid, a person tears their garment because the person is in a state of trauma, pain, and shock, and by tearing the garment, they're able to have a release from that agony. It's permissible. Because in general, there's a halacha that says you're not allowed to waste things. Bal tashchis. As a child, I remember always my father, my mother, my teachers, don't waste, bal tashchis. You don't want to eat it, don't eat it. But don't put it on your plate and throw it in the garbage. There's a sin. One of the 613 commandments called bal tashchis. You're not allowed to waste things. And the same is true, I don't like these dishes. I don't like these plates. Smash them, throw in the garbage. You don't like it, give it away to somebody. You don't destroy things. I don't like this dress. I don't look good in it. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to burn it. No, you're not allowed to burn the dress. You don't want it, give it to your kids, give it to your neighbor, give it to Salvation Army. You have no right to destroy things. So how did Moshe Rabbeinu have a right to destroy the luchos? So the answer is, to save the Jewish people, to save the life of the Jewish people, he had a right to destroy it. On this note of tearing kriya, I just want to mention, and I said this in the synagogue a few weeks ago, that the concept of tearing a garment over a lost parent, or the concept of sitting shiva even for 7 days, and the idea of shloshim, of 30 days, and the mourning for a year, not only applies to the Jewish people. Non-Jews, Noachites, can also participate. Because the Rambam says pertaining to the laws of mourning, this has nothing to do with Judaism. It has nothing to do with holiness or godliness. It says anyone who does not mourn the loss of a good person, that individual is an achzor, which means he's a sadist. That person has no feelings, is immoral. And similarly, if you mourn too long, if you're crying too long, and you can't get back to the real world after 7 days, etc., then the Rambam says that person is a tipush, the person is a fool. So these are terminologies that apply to all people. Now obviously there's a year of mourning, etc., but after 7 days, you get up from the box and you go back into the everyday world. So when it comes to mourning, when it comes to pain and suffering, you have a right to tear a garment. It's not baltashkis. And similarly, to save a life, for sure, someone else's life, you can destroy their property, break down their house, and pull them out to save their life. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu was allowed to break the tablets. And he did not violate any law of being a mazik, destroying someone else's property. But there's another question. And that question is, what about the laws of stealing? When it comes to stealing, we say you cannot steal someone's money and say, look, I'm going to steal from them $100, but I will return next week to them $200. You can't do that. Even if I'm going to steal for a purpose, to make them wealthy, unless you ask them permission, you have no right to touch their money. If that is the case, similarly, when it comes to the luchos, when it comes to the tablets, if the luchos belonged to Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu had no right to destroy it. And even if you're going to say, I want to save your life, that doesn't give you a right to steal. So how was he able to steal the luchos or destroy it through theft? So the answer is that the luchos were unique. They were unique in the sense that it was not public property. It was not like the Mishkan that everybody gave money to build. But rather, the luchos was a gift from God to Moses. As we find pertaining to the second tablets. The Torah says clearly, Pesal lecha, you are to cut out the stone for yourself. Because after Moses destroyed the first set of tablets, God says, now you broke it, now you fix it. In other words, you get me another set of tablets. So the second set of tablets, Moses brought up to God by carving out new sapphire and bringing God the second set of tablets. However, the second set and the first set were a gift to Moses. Moses chose to give it over to the Jewish people. You see this many times by dinners, by fundraising dinners and award-winning dinners. You know, in Hollywood, oh, I don't deserve this honor for being the best actor or actress. I'm giving this over to the team. Or I'm giving this over to my wife. She deserves it. So God gives Moses the tablets. He says, oh, it's not for me. I want to give it over to the Jewish people, for them. Based on this, we can now understand why it says the espois, and he grabbed it. Number one, the tablets belonged to him. He didn't steal it. He had a right to break it. Number two, but in his mind, he said, I can't take this for me. I want to give it to them. So at the moment that he thought he's giving it to them, it now, so to speak, belongs to them, almost. And therefore, the espois has to grab it back and say, no, I'm taking it for myself. Now I can break it. And again, he breaks it to save the Jewish people. And take it one step further. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, who was the Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd of Almighty God, who administered faith into all the Jewish people, was so concerned for the Jewish people and for their welfare, that he did not want them to be blamed for the breaking of the tablets. Now, we find in the first commandment, it says the following, Anoichi Hashem Elikecha, I am God your Lord. It says, I am God your Lord in the singular. Why in the singular? God is talking now to over 2 million men, women, and children. Why does he say your Lord in the singular? It should say, I am your Lord in the plural. All of yours. And there are many answers. One answer is given that God was talking to each individual. I'm not talking to him or her, I'm talking to you. And each person felt that personal relationship and that personal connection. God is talking to me, not him, me. That's one answer. But there's another answer. God says, I am your Lord. Who? Moses. So that he would give Moses the opportunity, after the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, and said to Moses they deserved to be killed for their sin. So Moses said to God, what are you talking about? You never spoke to them, you spoke to me. You said to me, Anoichi Hashem Ekecha, Moses, I'm God your Lord, not their Lord. You can't blame them for what they did. Talk to them next time, not to me. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to take full responsibility for the breaking of the tablets. Don't blame the Jews. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. So Moshe Rabbeinu takes the tablets and he grabs it. It's mine. I can do what I want with it. And he breaks it. You want to blame somebody? God, blame me. An amazing concept. An amazing sense of love and responsibility. I take responsibility fully. It's not their fault. There's a famous story in a preschool, in a Hebrew school, in a yeshiva. There was a synagogue that had not only a preschool yeshiva, also had a Hebrew school, which is, children come an hour a week and they study a little Torah. And they were teaching the children to make brachas and all these things. And one day, the teacher wants to show off to the parents, how the children are learning and they're so involved and the kids are doing an amazing job. So he brings one of the fathers into the school. I want to show you what I teach the children. He was hoping that the father would send his kid now, to the Hebrew school. And the teacher gets up in front of the class and says, children, tell me, who broke the tablets? And one kid gets up and said, teacher, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. He says, get into my office right away. And now the man is standing there, turns to the teacher and says, teacher, I know that guy. I know that kid. I know his father. I know his family. If he said he didn't do it, he didn't do it. Now, you understand over here that this is naivete. This is a lack of knowledge. That a child doesn't know who broke the tablets. Moses broke the tablets. But the Torah comes to tell us, ve'espois, that Moshe Rabbeinu grabs those tablets. Why? Because of his love for the Jewish people. Don't put any blame upon the children. In general, the Lubavitcher Rebbe always said, if a child leaves the fold, if a child is angry at the school and is a bad student, it's not the student's fault. It's the fault of the teachers, it's the fault of the parents, and we have to look into ourselves, what did we do wrong? Take the blame. Don't pass the blame on to the students. I just want to end with one final note. The verse says, "Ve'espois b'shnei luchos." Moses says, I grabbed the 2 tablets and I threw it to the ground. Ve'ashbreim leinechem, ve'ashabreim leinechem, and I broke them in front of your eyes. Why must the Torah use these words? I broke them in front of your eyes. There's a story told in the Talmud of Avodah Zarah. In the time of the Romans, it was prohibited to teach Torah in public. Yet rabbis went and they did it for the sake of self-sacrifice to preserve Torah so that Torah should have its continuity for the next generation. One such rabbi was Rabbi Hananya Menteradin. And Rabbi Hananya Menteradin taught Torah in public. The Romans grabbed him and they said, it is punishable by death. Take this Torah that you teach, we're going to wrap it around you, put it on fire. And they put wet wool on his heart to prolong the pain. And they set him on fire. And the student said to him, Rebbe, what do you see? And I said like this, I see the parchment is being burned. However, the letters are flying into the air. The oisiyos, the letters of the Torah, the holy letters of the Torah, are perchos, are flying ba'avir into the air. They are not getting burned, they are not getting consumed. Because something which is holy, something which is great, something which is beautiful is eternal. When you do a mitzvah, you pray, you study Torah, you give charity, even if you did it once in your lifetime, those mitzvos, those good deeds are perchos ba'avir, are in the heavens. They are there forever. It is no way to ever burn them, to destroy them, to eradicate them. Those good deeds are there for all eternity. So Moses says to the Jewish people, I broke the luchos before your very eyes. All you saw was the breaking of the stone. But the letters I did not break. The letters of the luchos flew into the heavens. Because those letters remain for all eternity. And so this is a lesson for all of us in life. We see only the physical. We don't see the spiritual. And therefore the Torah is commanding us, the Torah is encouraging us to open our eyes and see beyond the physical. See the spiritual. The Rebbe told us that we are now living in a generation, the last generation of Golus, the first generation of redemption. All we have to do is open our eyes, and we'll see how the table already is set for the banquet. Mashiach is ready to come. All we have to do is open our eyes. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any question, please write it in the comments.